Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Otis Moss III. This is Film Notes, where we explore film, faith, the craft of film, and the creativity that flows from artists who move in this specific area. And we are thankful that you are with us tonight. I know that there are a few people who are cinephiles and also those who are interested in faith. And so interested not only in the craft of film, but also the theological framing. And so we're thankful that you are with us tonight. We want to let you know that you can place your questions in the chat, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions of our guest tonight. I'm very excited that we have a tremendous group of people who are with us tonight. We are going to be exploring the film Finding Faith. It will be released on June 16th and 17th only. So please mark your calendars, June 16th and June 17th, to support this tremendous film that deals with a meditation around grief and also with addiction and the idea of redemption. Again, Finding Faith, June 16th and the 17th. It will be released in theaters across the nation, and we want you to support this tremendous endeavor that was put together by a wonderful team of people who we have the opportunity to speak with this evening. But as we always do, before we begin our conversation, let's have a word of prayer. Gracious and most merciful God, in whom we live, move, and have our very being, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together and to be able to witness and hear the creativity and the artistry that flows from these gifted individuals who we will have a conversation with tonight. We ask, O Lord, that your hand will be upon the conversation and something might be said that may inspire, that may bless, that may lift up, and also cause a person to reflect. We thank you. And we offer this prayer in the mighty and wonderful name of Jesus, who is the Christ, and the people of God who love God may say amen. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be examining the film Finding Faith. And I think the best way for us to introduce the film, for those of you who may not be familiar and maybe you didn't hear about the film and some of the PR information that has been dropped around the web, we're going to show the trailer right before we begin our discussion, and I'll just ask our producer, Sue, to take us away.
Hey, boys, watch out, okay? Be careful.
God can do anything.
Oh, come on.
She's a special breed of woman.
Yes. You gonna wear that today?
Yes,
It's a little skimpy. You know the past is coming back.
fourth interview. You've got this. Don't even think twice.
12 years I put in there to become the district manager for nothing.
How's the job search going?
I'll take care of it.
Unfortunately, we're no longer hiring at this time.
How could you hide this from me?
The only response I've gotten is we're not hiring or no response at all.
I could lose the house. I'm working every day, overtime. Maybe you need to take a break from the church.
Come on. Let's go, pick it up.
You started this youth basketball league. You're doing a lot of good with these boys.
These bills aren't gonna pay themselves.
What do you want me to say? Are you sure you're going to be able to drive with me to the kids' basketball retreat?
I told you I'd be there.
It's important. It's important. I'm in a view.
911, what's your emergency?
It's been a bad accident.
I'm sorry, please.
I'm from the Department of Children and Family Services.
I'm not gonna drink anymore. I promise. Don't take my son. I am so scared.
Don't run just for the sake of running, because you may just be running for the rest of your life.
I had to lose everything if I don't find God.
We want to welcome the team that has created this wonderful film to Film Notes this evening. We are delighted to welcome several of the cast members. along with the director. We have with us Demetrius Gross, who plays the father in the film, does a tremendous job. You may have seen him I was a fan of Justified, just want to say that. May have seen him on Justified and several other films, according also straight out of Compton. And we also have with us from Chicago. We have two Chicagoites here, so this is really exciting. So several people will probably give shout outs. We're so delighted that Nadine Velasquez is with us, graduate of Columbia College here in Chicago, and she did a tremendous job in the film. And also from Chicago, Stephen Bishop in the house. He used to play baseball and now is acting, and some of you may remember him from being Mary Jane, and our director. Lazarelle Lisson, we thank you for what you have presented and you have written, and we thank you for blessing us this evening. Again, June 16th and June 17th, you want to see the film Finding Faith. I'd like to jump in the conversation, and we'll just do a round robin this way. I'd like to know, and I'll start with you, Demetrius. How do you prepare for a role? How did you prepare for this specific role?
First step is always reading to prepare for a role. Reading the script once. There's a great casting director named Twinkie Bird. She would always say, read it backwards and forwards. And so, I do that literally. I'll read it in sequence and then read it out of order by reading it backwards. I got a chance to talk to Laz and really get a clear idea on his vision for who Jalen was, what his relationship is with faith, and what his relationship is with Pastor Wesley. And we do a lot of backstory, but on the day, I mean, you're expected to come prepared. And so it's both of those things in tandem, having the time to work on it, but then also having the deadline to know that on the day when we're ready to go, we can just lock in and just have fun with it.
Now, Stephen, you play the pastor in the film, and what was your method for preparing, or were there any particular inspirations in reference to how you shaped your character?
Yeah, actually, well, first, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here. There's a pastor who plays golf at my golf club, and I speak to him all the time on the driving range. We talk about a wide variety of issues, family issues, current events issues, and golf sometimes. And once he invited me to his church. And so I went, out of respect, and I really watched him because I wanted to see how he differed when he was doing his thing from the man that I knew from the driving range. So I really paid attention to his energy, his movements, the way, the cadence in which he spoke. And so when I got this role, I immediately tapped into all of my memories about Pastor Mel. And I used a lot of the things that I remembered from him, and, then some of my own life experiences and my own energy to round out Pastor West.
And to you, Nadine, you have the weight of playing someone who is dealing with tremendous loss and has a redemptive moment in the film. What was the process for preparation?
Hello. Also, thank you for having me. I think the process for me is I tend to just have naturally a very curious mind and active imagination. And I really just spent time imagining myself having a child, right? I have a niece. I don't have a child myself, so I have a niece that feels like my daughter. But and I just tapped into the whole storyline. Like, what is it to have your child on the line, to have your family on the line? I'm Latina. I love family. And how do we cope in a world where you don't have connection and, to our source and to God? Like, that's just an empty life. And so I just put myself in those moments where I've experienced that myself, but have also, just in my active imagination, imagining having everything of my dreams and then not being able to protect it, not being able to have it. It's very devastating. So this movie resonated just with that theme of loss. It was just very, very powerful inspiration to draw from.
Brother Lazarel, you have a variety of films under your belt. You've done work with Netflix, Paramount, along with BET Plus, and you have a production company. And I'm curious, I'm pretty sure the audience would love to know your process, especially for this film in particular.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. Anytime, this was a very interesting film because the ideas just basically come to you. And I always say, writing for so many years, you get to a point where the story begin to write itself. Once you start, you get the general idea, then the characters begin to speak to you. They begin to tell you what they would say. And I always say, when you write a script, you write it good, you give it, I always say, a preliminary soul, if you know what I mean. Then when you cast the film, you get great enough actors, then they begin to take it to a whole other level. And that's why I've been doing this long enough where it's like, when I first start, I connect to it as a writer. But then when you cast anointed people like this, it's like, I don't look at myself as the writer anymore because they have given it the real soul. So when I see Stephen, I see this Pastor Wesley. I see an educated pastor, someone that's filled with love. And Demetrius, I see an amazing father that has his own issues. And Nadine as Maria, I see these people that I had an initial vision for Faith. I had initial vision for Helen and Henry, but then you see the characters just come to life. And I always say the interesting process, no matter what I write, I get lost in that music genre for basically a whole year. So I've always listened to gospel and Christian music, but now my whole world, 24 hours a day, is consumed by that. It's just like when I wrote holiday movies, I got lost in Christmas movies, like Christmas music in June and March, So it's an interesting process, but I think that when the idea come to you in the middle of the night, it basically, the story begin to write itself. And I'm just kind of like the instrument, but I almost feel like it just comes so natural at this point. Hope that makes sense.
Oh, it does. So let me ask this. What would have been on your playlist as you were creating this film?
I grew up like from the Williams brothers to, I love Fred Hammond's to his playlist. And I grew up in the hip hop era. So, I even have like a Christian hip hop playlist, from just, I can go down a list and name, because I have Pandora. So I have like a Fred Hammond's channel, you got the TD Jakes channel, and then I have Christian music channel. And I do a lot of meditating when I go to the gym. So I go sit in the sauna, because when my mind is stuck on something, every time I go get in the sauna and put on the music, every time I come out of there, boom, whatever you were stuck on, it just begin to write itself. So, yeah.
Let me ask to those of you who are part of the cast, was there elements that were not on paper that ended up being improvised at any point in the film?
Who's going to jump in? Yeah, I'll jump in. In some of my stuff, I can't speak for everybody, but in some of my stuff, there definitely were some improv moments. Laz was very generous in allowing me to make the pastor my own, and in a lot of the sermon times, there were things that were coming directly from my heart, some of which came from my life, and just my overall outlook on God and how he interacts. Obviously, there were things that were scripted and points that I needed to hit, but there were times where he just said, "Listen, just let it flow." And so I really got a chance to have fun with it and say some things that I might not ever get to say on film again or before.
Now, Nadine, Demetrius, were there some pieces that you brought to the table to reshape the character?
I sure did. I have a funny story. It's actually a little sideways story, but I came to Laz via Steven, actually. He referred me to this film, and it's weird when I didn't have to audition for it, right? It was, they saw my reel, they saw my work, and I guess they assumed that I could do the role. But I think Laz was afraid. I was the only cast member that he was a little scared of. So in the early stages, he just kept talking to me about it like I was brand new. And I just look at him. I'm like, Laz, you gotta trust me. Like, I got this. I know her. And he's like, you come back, but she needs to. And I'm like, Laz, I got you. And I remember when I first did my scene, he came, he gave me the biggest hug, and he was just like, that's her, that's her. I was like, now do you trust me? So yes, I guess in a way I did improvise some pieces of it because I brought my my perspective of what this character was dealing with, and I threw in some things. Of course, I cleared it with him, but I mean, after that moment, it was like I got that Laz, the smiling Laz, the hugging Laz. It was smooth sailing after that.
Yeah, that's an important piece. I'd like to continue with that, Brother Laz. The idea of trust. How do you build trust on set when you're bringing people to a project?
Well, it's interesting because when you go into something, just like Pastor Wesley, you go in with a certain idea. But then once Stephen, that's why I say when you do this type of stuff, then they bring an authentic soul because they bring a human, a full developed human. And I know so many people like say, man, Stephen, I would love to go to his church because he brought a sense of warmth and a sense of genuineness. But it tells more so about who he is in real life. He brought himself to the character, and a loving, very soft-spoken person. And that was easy. So once I see it, and you got this ensemble, you got this big ensemble cast, and the most important thing is making sure everybody gel. But and like I say, when Nadine came there, Maria, and I saw her, I'm like, wow, she brought a level of softness and funniness and quirkiness, and she that friend that you go out there and you say, man, she just living the best life possible. I want to hang out with her. And then you find out she more messed up than you. So it was amazing, but that changed pretty quick. I think you started like on maybe day 9. I mean, I can't remember what day you started.
Yeah, I came in late. I was the last one in.
Demetrius, and I mean, I can speak all day about all these people, and Paula was just so zoned in. It just and she was method, the whole film pretty much. So it was fun.
Specifically, one of the things that I know was not in the original script that audiences will be able to see in the film is the call and response of Marco and Polo. That was something that Paul, you'll those who get to see the movie or who haven't seen it yet, when you watch it, you'll have more context. But basically, it's kind of a cute lovers call and response that we wanted to work into with to the film to kind of quickly establish the the solidarity of their relationship, and we were able to gain a lot of ground very quickly to establish their rhythm, the culture of their relationship, that it's playful, that it's good and it's healthy. And Paula was really I'm grateful as we got into shooting of it that she was adamant about us adding those kinds of elements. But that's something that was definitely an improvisation that ends up in our movie.
Don't forget our handshake, B.
A handshake, yeah, we can. Yeah, Steven and I came up with a handshake because in a movie, because the movie is in theaters, you almost have to think about, and Laz can speak more to this, but you have to think about audiences sitting in a movie theater for an hour and a half, hour 20, hour 30, whatever the movie is. And so the characters and the relationships have to cover a lot of ground so that we don't get pieces missing to the story when we get down to deliver the cut to the people who are going to distribute the movie.
Yeah.
So
that was a nice detail that was added because it created the relationship between the two of you. That simple.
Very quickly. Yeah.
It was really
one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
Now we have a question from those who are watching. Crystal Roberts wants to know, why do you think this movie and the message in this movie had to be made and be heard now?
I think this movie has to be made now because we're a community, a global community that is, on the heels of the pandemic, wars going on all over the place. So this story, specifically Faith's, is one of renaissance and rebuilding and rebirth after the tragedy of a loss. And I don't know, maybe it's because information is more available to us now than ever before, but I think we're all, in our late 30s, early 40s, we're starting to see that bereavement is a real part of life, and how you handle that can make or break how your life goes after your loved one is no longer with us. And so her journey is one that I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to, and is necessary in a way that we portray it.
Anyone else want to share on that? Why this film? Why now?
I think that in a world now, we all need more of God, because one thing that the more information available, I just think that people have lost the foundation of how important family is, how important the message that for many of us from the South, and I'm sure because a lot of people in Chicago, they migrated from the South. So they can all relate to the message that grandparents used to say, or you grew up in church. And I think that one thing that what we try to do, and that's the principle that we wanted to really establish in this movie, that, like that the pastor told her, no matter what you're going to, religion and God is two different things. Don't turn your back on Jesus. I think today's times, we've lost the message of love and redemption and all of that. And I think that with this movie, our whole purpose is, you may fall, but it's never too late to come back. Like Dunham and Clerk can say, we fall down, but we get up. So I think that this movie just shows, like, you may fall 100 times, because throughout all of our lives, I come from a background with sports, and like Steven, who played the majors and all that, and everybody in order with Steven, Demetri, everybody that went through something and failed in your careers or whatever, but it's never too late to do it again and start back up and get back ready and get back on the field.
Anyone else with that question? Why this film? Why now?
I will answer. One of my favorite verses or scriptures is a Proverbs one. Pastor, you know it. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. To me, that is like, we always have to acknowledge God in everything that we do. And I live by that. if there's no acknowledgement of God, there is no path. And so to me, a film that talks about finding faith, that talks about or reminds you that that is the way, is always going to be needed in this world, because this world is designed to get you off your path. And so why now? Why always?
Brother Stephen.
Go ahead, Pastor Wesley.
Oh, you're gonna make everybody answer the question? I was ready to let it go. I thought that it was pretty well covered. I don't think really I can add to anything of that. I mean, it's a story of perseverance. There's a lot going on in the world, like Demetrius said. People really need to find God and put a lot in His hands to get through a lot of the things that they're going through. Yeah. The world is really hurting right now, and I think that having faith and letting it guide you through whatever you may be going through as a person is always a good outlook and a good approach to have to life. But right now, especially because there's so much going on and so many people going through so much hardship, that I think this type of movie can inspire somebody to just hold on a little tighter to their faith and be a little closer to God and let go a little bit and let God. You know what I mean?
We have a question from Patricia, who says, how do each of you know that the role, how did you know the role was for you? Or do you know?
I always think every role I go out for is for me, because I put what is, I mean, I feel that inspiration is like you're in spirit. That's the definition of inspiration. You're being inspirited. And so to me, whenever I put my heart into a role, it's not coming from me. It's coming from what I'm inspired by. So whether it's an audition or an actual role, it's mine, because that's how I'm walking in. Whether I get it or not is a different story. But when I put my heart into it, I know that it's for me.
Now, there's a question from India about, and this is really for you, Laz. Does the film treat the possibilities of children's faith development? I mean, there's a wonderful young man who does a great job in the film. I don't want to give anything away. But if you could share in terms of what does the film have to say for children or young people in reference to their faith development?
Yeah, keep your eye on it. You know, kids gonna be kids. Kids gonna go out there and go out there and do what kids do. But the whole point is like I always say, they said a kid sometimes stray, but if you put the right principles in them, they're going to come back. And I think that in this movie here, they put such, Jalen and Faith put such good qualities in their kid that he ultimately became a strong backbone of the movie. So that's what people always say, train up a child in the way that he should go. And that means starting your child when they're young, like as early as 5 and as 4, showing them love and telling them how amazing they are, telling them that they that just putting so much greatness in them that by the time they get older, it's already embedded, it's already ingrained. So
well, we're going to, just for a brief commercial right here, June 16th, June 17th, you have to check out Finding Faith. It will open in theaters. And we are with the cast and the director and the writer of Finding, and producer of Finding Faith this evening for Film Notes. Let me ask this question. How long was the shoot? And is there a particular scene that didn't make it into the film that you really wish could have, but it didn't?
Lots of them. The film took 17 days. And let me say this, I want to say, we had such amazing producing partners on this film, from Tatiana Chikova from Some House Pictures, Charles F. Porter from Black Bench. It could not have been done without the whole team working together. And I mean, you know, the initial cut of the film was about 2 hours long. So you can imagine, like, from that, when it gets down like this, it's just so many scenes that you have to end up cutting, you know, that's some of the best stuff, you know, and I have to get overridden a lot. And that's why I mentioned the producers, because, you know, me, I'm married to a lot of stuff, but then I'm the type of person as a director, if I'm outvoted, I'm like, okay, if it's 3-1, I'm like, okay, I lost, it's gone. You know, and that's, so it was some amazing scenes from, you know, from with Demetrius, with Steven, with Paula, you know, and, you know, imagine Paula, she put so much into everything. So she's the producer also. She was one of the last people that you had to convince, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, Paula, you can't add that. Like, because there was a lot of stuff got cut down. That was some amazing stuff. And I always say that the better the actors are, it's never really any bad acting. It just, like, scenes just get cut because it ain't enough time.
Now, is there a different challenge when you are producing or working on a film that is faith-centered in today's culture, in terms of marketing, in terms of financing? Is there a different challenge for this?
Not really. I honestly, I find more comfort in faith movies. I've done them all. Like, I've done thrillers and romantic, and I've done holiday, several holiday. But faith is just something that resonates, especially when it's like a film that people can connect to, like this. It's comforting. I find that it's like, this film isn't hard to, because it just, you know, we basically keeping it real, you know, what people can actually relate to.
Now, what would you share with those who are interested in engaging in film and in the arts? What would be your advice to those who may be listening and saying, you know, I want to be an actor, I want to be a director, I want to be a writer or a producer? What would your advice be to them?
I would say, if you want to be an actor in your town and you really want to do it, then you would be doing something in your church. You would be doing something in your local theater. Because to me, when I first started writing, I started writing at 9 years old religiously, when the dream was just there. And I'm sure many of us here can relate to that. You know, the dream starts in your little town. And to me, if you really want to do something, start there and get better and get better. That way, when the opportunity comes and you up for a role as Steven's son, or as Demetrius' son, or as Nadine's son, if you're a young kid, it's like one of them situations, you prepare it, because people here have a lot of talent. Some of the best people in the world are coming here.
Let's just go around in terms of each person. What would your advice be to someone who wants to follow the path that you are currently walking?
Pick a new path.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, no, I didn't know who. Go ahead, please, Nadine. Go
I
ahead.
said pick a new path. Pick a new path. No. This one, you know, this one is an interesting path. If you want to grow, if you want to learn about life, this will teach you. So if you're somebody who wants to evolve and you want to get better at something, there's nothing better than sports. There's nothing better than acting, to really exercise who you are and stretch yourself as a human being. And then you would just take that you learn and you will put it into your work, and it will become richer and better. So if you're cut up for that kind of growth, then just start anywhere. Like Laz says, start in your town. Start tomorrow. You can start tomorrow.
And to add to that, my advice would be pretty much to get training. I wouldn't run to a movie set or a TV set. If you're getting started out, I would do theater, do improv groups. A great resource usually are the film schools in your area. They're always looking for actors. It's a very practical way to get footage, to create demo reels, is to well, what I used to do is frequent the School of Communications building, or the whatever. If you're a student in a university, whatever school does films, they'll post casting calls. That stuff is really important. Reading plays is very important, and reading scripts. Watching a lot of stuff is very important for people trying to get into it. You want to learn the different genres that are in film. You want to learn the difference between a performance on television and a performance on film, and why they're different. How are they similar? How can how does a performance for an actor on a stage play translate sometimes more directly to a performance on a film than maybe in television? Why is that? You got to be really curious, like Nadine said, creatively. You always definitely want to make sure you're finding out what makes you tick specifically, what crystallizes your individuality and your voice, and bring that to the work.
Yeah, again, I'm going last, and I find myself not having a whole lot to contribute to the conversation here. I would say that, one of the things that I was able to do to get started was to get a commercial agent and start doing commercials. So I got familiar with sets. I got familiar with being on camera. But as an actor, if you are intent on being a film or television actor, or even a stage actor, you need to get in touch with yourself. You need to get in touch with your emotions, and you need to be able to let your emotions come to the surface at any given moment. Being an actor is being believable in an imaginary circumstance, and that's something that you're going to have to teach yourself how to do. It's very difficult for somebody who doesn't know you to tell you how to be yourself, how to be how to bring your humanity. I found if you get hired for a job, it's because they want your humanity in the role. As Laz said, he said, I brought a lot of myself to this character. Unless you're playing a very specific historical figure or somebody who is in the public eye already, and you have to master mannerisms and things like that. This is a very broad question, and I think everybody's going to have a different answer to it, and we've all traveled a different road to get to this place today. So the great Samuel L. Jackson told me, if you want to be an actor, go act. Go get auditions and get jobs, and don't get jobs, and go find ways, watch a show. One thing I do, a secret that I'll share, that I'll share with the world, that I don't know that I've shared before, and it's going to sound strange to some people, but it works for me. I watch a lot of film, and sometimes I'll see a scene that I really like, and I'll rewind it and I'll watch it again, and then I'll pause it, and I will act out the role that I feel resonates with me, and I'll give it my own take and see how it felt. It's just, and this is like acting school for me. So again, there's a lot that can be said about this question, but these are some of the things that I think that I say to young actors when they come and they ask me for advice. Like Nadine said, have a strong stomach, be prepared for a lot of rejection, and learn how to find a victory in a perceived loss. You're not going to get the job.
Yeah.
But if you did your best work in the audition, you win. That's how you have to approach it, or else your soul is gonna get crushed by all the rejection that you're gonna get.
That leads me to this question of influences. Who are your influences? Who are the icons, the people you have studied, who you've modeled yourself after, who inspired you, who pours into you? Who are those people?
Well, I've been so blessed in my career to work with, I believe, 5 Oscar winners, one of which was my idol as an actor when I wanted to be an actor and through my early parts of my acting career, which is Denzel Washington. I worked with him on Safe House. Outstanding opportunity and learning experience for me. I also got to work with someone who, when I was asked as a very young actor whose career I would like to have if I could, it was Brad Pitt, and I got a chance to work with him. Um, it's an amazing opportunity that I've had in this life to be able to work with some of the people that I looked at, Jamie Foxx being another one that I looked at as just an immensely talented human being that was able to bring humanity and believability into imaginary circumstances. Denzel he is an actor's actor, and you can learn something watching him every single. I watch movies with him in it over and over and over, and I learn something new every time. So those are the people for me. I don't want to leave anybody out. Queen Latifah was a great acting partner to work with. Billy Bob Thornton was another one that was influential to me because he pulled me aside, uh, as did Brad, and these two titans of our industry pulling me aside and giving me encouragement after having worked with me gave me a lot of confidence to let myself open up and just let it go. So thank you for letting me go first on that.
Influences and icons. Who are the influences, the icons for you all?
For Nadine, me?
Yes.
Look at me. So, okay, influences. I have a friend who shall remain nameless in the industry who's a big titan, and he pours into me, and he's helped me see that this journey of being an actor is really just a journey of channeling spirit. I really have to say that. You know, I come here because God wants me to keep doing it. And as long as he does, I'll keep doing it. And as soon as he points me in another direction, I will go in another direction and I will let this go. I'm not attached to it in any way, shape, or form other than I want to serve and I want to be at my highest. And I want to learn everything I can to just show what the human experience is. And that's it. So to me, when I hear that as feedback, to me it's the best, because there's nothing else you could really tell me other than that would make me motivated or more inspired than that. And so that's my highest. And when I see actors doing that, like, I believe, to me, like, I'm very, very magnetized to Zoe Saldana for some reason. She's just phenomenal, and I feel like she's so open as a channel, and you get to see. I mean, I also identify because I'm Latina as well, and so we have a similar fiery, nature. And so for years, I was really afraid of that fire in me. I was afraid of some of the ways that I am, just the ways God made me. And then through this mentoring and pouring into, I've just come to trust that it's okay, that it's just that I'm doing my part, and I feel good about it.
Well, I guess with me, I have, it's been so many phenomenal directors that I've had the pleasure of seeking advice from along the years, from Alexander Payne to John Singleton before he died, and many others, and phenomenal actors that I used to dream about watching on TV, and I'm like, wow, just having a chance to direct them was immense pleasure. I grew so much. It's like every film, being on this film, working with phenomenal people, phenomenal actors like this were such a immense pleasure, but I always say, like, I got the industry, then I got like influences in my, that's outside the industry. I have this, he was my, I always call him, he's my second father from when I came into my life as a mentor. And I used to go home, they He passed away about a year ago.
Mm.
But I used to go home. They was very proud of everything I'm doing up here in film, and they my biggest supporters. But when I get to Arkansas, he said, I don't want to hear about that. How's your relationship with Jesus? That's what he would say. That's what he would say to me. And it was always about me not losing who I am in this business. Because oftentimes, that's the big struggle sometimes. You can lose yourself. And I was fortunate enough I got the industry, but then when I go back home, I'm around those people, like they proud of everything. But, I like for them to like really, keep me grounded, basically.
Now, let me ask this. What was a moment in your career that was either a stumbling block, or you could call it failure, but it was also a biggest blessing for you?
This experience. This experience, because I can just be transparent. This was a film that initially we were greenlit with a particular network, and it just so happened that was doing the strike phase, all of that stuff. So a lot of stuff that became greenlit became ungreenlit. So this was a situation where it was a blessing, because I didn't feel like it was a blessing at that time, but overall it allowed for us to go bigger with this project. Because if I would have kept the project where it was, I would not have had the phenomenal cast that I had. What we have in this film, because it would not have been necessary. So ultimately, from that situation, the project became what it is now. The theatrical release, everything. So, and I create new relationships with these phenomenal people that we're going to keep working together with, and all that.
So, Steve, I'm going to go to you. Make sure you're not last. So,
Yeah, that's a difficult question. While Laz was talking, I've been trying to think of a moment that I would consider negative that turned into a blessing. I think that they've been pretty compartmentalized in the way where I've, really wanted some jobs that I didn't get, and that never turned into a blessing. It was just a job I didn't get. And then there's been opportune moments that were literal blessings that turned into even, greater things. I think a moment that I will call serendipitous, since I can't come up with something. A friend of mine recently told me I have to stop being negative about things. I have to be much more positive. So I'm going to go into the light, and I'm going to say that there's a moment that was serendipitous for me. I was in my agent's office, and we were talking about something else completely. And I got a text message while I was there, and they said, "Hey, did you know that they're making a movie called Moneyball, and there's a part in it for David Justice?" And I was like, wow, no. And oddly enough, my entire baseball career, from when I left high school through pro ball, in college, I got a nickname, Baby Justice, because David and I look so much alike. And so I told my agent, "Hey, do you know who's casting this?" He looked it up. We sent pictures over there right away. They immediately responded and said, "We'll set him up for an audition." And it became the biggest movie job of my career. And, I was fortunate to be able to walk the red carpet at TIFF for Moneyball for our premiere. And, the film enjoyed 6 Oscar nominations and all of that from a text message in my agent's office. So there's my serendipitous moment that turned into a major blessing.
Nadine.
That turned into a major blessing. God, I've had like cool moments like this, like being in this film was really neat, you know, coming into it through Steven, and because it's an industry where you just don't know, you know, you kind of like, am I going to get it? Am I not? And then when you do, it is, you know, it does open doors to other things. And that's always a blessing. And I would say the coolest opportunity I got that did turn into a beautiful blessing is I'm sorry it's loud in here, but I got a job offer from ABC to do Queens, and they had never asked me if I could rap or sing or dance or anything, and I'm over here acting with Brandy and Eve, and I'm supposed to rap and sing and dance with those girls. Like, they just offered it to me. I don't know why. Every girl that I know had auditioned for that role. And I never even got the casting. I just got the offer. No one talked to me about it, nothing. The director just came straight. We had a conversation. 4 hours later, I had the role. And I was like, okay, Spirit. Okay, God, I don't know how to rap. I don't listen to rap. And I think I have 2 left feet, and I can carry a tune, but you asked me to be here, so I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to learn this. So that whole summer I was training and practicing, and I killed it. Like, I did an amazing job, and I knew that it had come from Spirit for me to do this, and I don't know, stretch myself maybe to prove something. I don't know why, but what I've walked away with in that experience is, oh, you know, you're always going to get tapped for what's yours, and you don't have to know everything about everything in order to go to the job. Like, if you get tapped, it means because you can, and so you just have to say that you can, and then all the resources that you need will appear. And so from there, I created 6-7 songs that I'm going to release. I would have never imagined myself singing after that, but that's like a new thing for me, so that's a blessing.
Can I say this real quick about Nadine? When we casted Nadine in this movie, I had, because I saw Queens with her, but I've been doing this long enough to know, like, it's hard to tell who's doing what, you know? So when we casted her in this movie, I was already, because I wanted to make sure when we get an actress, I'm like, I don't care if they know how to sing. I want a great actress. That's what I want. We want a great actress. And then we casted her. And then so happened, we found out she could sing. So, because I was prepared to like get somebody else's voice there. But it just so happened it was a blessing that she had a beautiful voice as well.
Well, we knew she could sing. Don't forget, I read the script. And that's why I called. You didn't know, but I knew.
Okay, you did.
So when I say we, I mean we. At the beginning part where it was just me knowing, I called Charles and was like, "Hey man, listen, I after reading it, I said, you have to consider this woman. She can do everything here, and she's got the depth of the character, you know, as an actor that this character needs to go to." So again, it was a moment of serendipity for you, Nadine, that I had just been given the script, and I think 15 minutes after I finished reading it and said I wanted to do it, I was like, by the way, you need to look into this woman for this character. So yeah, no, it was God moving in mysterious ways, as they say.
Boy, did she kill it.
That's beautiful.
Brother Demetrius, the question was, has there been anything that was a stumbling block or was a great challenge that ended up becoming a blessing? Oh, you're on mute.
Please pardon, audience. I was traveling through through Louisiana. I was going over the longest bridge in North America. It's right here, and so you get over the Gulf of Mexico or wherever you are, and it's literally miles and miles. So
It's the Gulf of Mexico, by the way.
Gulf of America. Isn't that Gulf of America?
No, that was just a joke. I was just like, somebody wants to rename it, but anyway.
I kind of like Gulf of Mexico. But anyway, so very succinctly to answer your question, the challenge was a technical one when we were doing the bus scene. We're driving the kids to the basketball retreat. I just think the challenge was that we're actually singing the song that we wrote, that's written by Mark, who's our Mark and Laz actually. Um, they're comprising original music, original melodies for a song that people are familiar with. So syncing that up with the kids in the van, making that feel real, feel lighthearted, like it's something we do all the time. And I feel like we shot that the first week that I was invited to set, and so having to cover a lot of ground very quickly with the rapport with the children and the timing of the singing. Ultimately, we got it to a level where it is on the soundtrack of the album of the film. It's really good. We shot some of that stuff with green screen on the day too, so just visualizing what's out there, using the elements. But that's the gig. It's acting. I think I didn't see any of us really have any like challenges. I think what we were overcoming is most film crews overcome, and that's just the very natural obstacles that arise and that present themselves when you're trying to get a movie in on time with the kind of performances that everybody's really proud of. Every completed movie is a kind of a miracle, and this movie is no exception to that.
Demetrius, because I had a really difficult time answering this question, I want to give you a little bit more context because I'm curious if this has happened to you. He was talking about in your career, has there been an obstacle for you, not specifically on this set, but in your career, has there been something that you thought was a problem that eventually ended up being a blessing? That
I did. I'm so grateful that you shared that, because I do want to share something, especially for actors who are either new to the business or like me. I've been in the business 25 years, but I'm always considering myself as somebody who's learning. And I'll try to learn from everybody. Some people more than others, but I think pervasively for me, earlier on, handling long scenes was like a challenge, especially when there was a lot of dialogue, where it was just, we didn't have a lot of time. Either you don't have as much lead time on the film, or you don't have as much lead time for an audition. That's challenging. But what I wanted to add is that the opportunity there is to crystallize your process as an actor, and to crystallize a method of working when you don't have a lot of time to your disposal. Every challenge in this business, in this craft, has a hidden gem that you can unlock and uncover if you stay steadfast in it. And then I would just say, as actors, as artists, as filmmakers, we have to embrace those obstacles and challenges, because it's on the other side of that challenge, on the other side of the obstacle, that you can mine something really valuable that you're adding to the project. Anything worth having is worth working for. And our business, our craft, definitely makes you earn it. So when you see stuff up there edited, polished beautifully, you have no idea how much has gone into that 5 seconds of the moment that you enjoyed watching the film, television show.
Thank you for that. Well, I want to thank you all for taking time out and having this conversation. And we want people to check out Finding Faith. It comes out June 16th and 17th. We want you to go to the theater. Just make it your Juneteenth date night, whatever it may be. But we thank you all for being with us this evening for our film notes. We want to give a shout out to all of those who are online, who've asked questions, everyone who is behind the scenes, our Uber producer, none other than Sue, Reverend Lashandra, Donna, Erica, we thank you. And William Kilgore, who worked on this film, who is a part of the Trinity family, who serves in our media department here. And we are just grateful to you all, and it was a blessed film. I certainly enjoyed it, and I want to recommend it, and especially for those who are struggling with grief. I think it is a beautiful film to behold. So thank you so much for taking time out of your.
Hey, this Pastor,
Yeah.
the tickets are also available now that they can pre-buy right now on the Fathom website and get them because they're going fast.
All right, let's go ahead and get some tickets for Finding Faith immediately. Let's pack out the theaters here in Chicago. Thank you all for being with us this evening
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor.
Hyde Park, stand up.
Come on.
Southside.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Pastor Moss. God bless you. God bless your church family. And guys, if there's one last thought I want to leave you with, is that no act is too big or too small in the body of Christ to encourage somebody in their faith. Really, this movie is about how to rebuild, how we can supplicate, how we can teach people who are maybe not in the church or who don't regularly worship in the perfect religious methodology, how we can still show them Christ's love, and Stephen's portrayal of his character and Nadine's portrayal of her character really illustrate that dynamic beautifully, where we see Paula, who has like an Academy Award-winning level performance in this film. We see her lose it all psychologically, and we see her friends come together to help build her back. Even when she says, she doesn't want anyone to pray over her. My favorite scene is that scene, Stephen, where you pray with her through her throwing a stance or throwing what you're suggesting to the wind. That's a very critical scene to this, and it's a legacy scene that I'm sure your church members, Pastor Moss, are gonna really resonate with. And so, yeah, that's a hallmark of this movie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Amen. All right, this has been Film Notes. We thank you so much. And for all of you who joined us by Facebook and YouTube, be on the lookout for our next Film Notes. But until then, make sure you check out June 16th, June 17th. You've got to check out Finding Faith. Sue, can you bring up the poster once again? There we go, Finding Faith. We want you to check it out, please. Order your tickets now. Have a wonderful evening. God bless everyone.
Bless you, brother. God bless you.